Okay, these are the review quiz number 1 solutions if you want to go over anything that you got wrong. So it says, which expression represents an irrational number? So an irrational number is going to be a number that goes on forever and does not repeat. So what I'm going to do is go through each answer choice, type it in, and see if it's a decimal that goes on forever, and in fact, does not repeat. So the square root of 16 plus the square root of 1. Well, I know that those are both perfect squares, so if I type those in my calculator, I'm going to get a nice whole number. That's a rational number because he is a number that can be written as the ratio of two integers. He is a whole number. Same thing with 2. That's another perfect square. So I'm starting to see a pattern here where like these are going to end up being rational numbers, right? I could write 5 over 1. I could write 7 over 1. Square root of 36 plus the square root of 7. All right, that looks like a number that has no pattern. I'm going to pick it up, hit enter, and see if more digits come up past the 106. And they do. So therefore, this guy is going to be irrational. He is a decimal that goes on forever because more numbers cropped up and there's no fundamental pattern that's repeating. Remember, a rational number, it does not go on forever. So either it's a decimal that ends, right? Or it's a decimal that repeats. So like this would come from 1/3, okay? Which is the ratio of two integers. Sorry, I'm coughing. Question 2, the table below shows data from a recent car trip for the Burke family. State the average rate of change for the distance traveled between hours 2 and 4. So I'm zeroing in on these two points. I'm going to make a little table so that way I can calculate the slope between these 2 points. I'm going to find the change in y. Ooh, whoops, that is not what I was doing. All right, so I added 126 to get from 112 to 238, and then I added 2 to get from 2 to 4. So this is my change in x, this is my change in y. The average rate of change is the change in y over the change in x. Then careful, this question says I need to include the appropriate units. So I'm going to look and see what was on top. That was y for miles. And then I'm going to look at what was on the bottom. That was hours. And that's my appropriate units. Question 3. The solution to 2/3 times 3 minus 2x equals 3/4 is, so I now have 2/3 times 3 minus 2x equals 3/4. First, I'm going to get the answer in the calculator so I know exactly what I'm trying to reach with my math. So I'm going to go menu, 3, 1 for end solve. I then type it in the way I see it. Don't forget your comma x at the end. And this is what you get. I don't know what that is as a fraction though, so I'm going to do menu, and all the answer choices are fractions. I'm going to do menu, 2 for number, 2 for approximate to a fraction. It's 15 over 16. If I wanted to do it mathematically, here's what it would look like. I would have 2/3 times 3 minus 2/3 times 2x over 1 equals 3/4. I would then have these cancel, and I would get 2 minus 4x over 3 equals 3/4. And then I'm going to do minus 2, minus 2. So 3/4 minus 2 is going to give me negative 5/4. So I now have negative 4/3 x equals negative 5/4. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4/3. Careful entering that into your calculator. It's going to look like a fraction up top and a fraction down below. So it's like control divide. Up top I have a fraction, and then below I'm going to have a fraction. So up top I'm going to have negative 5/4. And then down below I'm going to have negative 4/3. My answer is 15/16. Okay? All All right, and then last but not least, it says the formula D equals T times, and then all this stuff in parentheses. And then it's used to calculate the distance D covered by an object in a given period of time. So this is all just like extra information. What you really need to be able to pull out from a question where it's all letters is just, hey, what variable are you solving for? And here it says you're solving the formula for V sub F. So that means I'm going to go into the formula here, and I'm going to move all the pieces around until I get V sub F by itself. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to divide both sides by T, because T and this parenthesis here have an operation of multiplication in between them, and I need to peel away each piece until I get to the meat and potatoes inside, the VF. So I'm going to divide both sides by T, and I have D over T equals V sub I plus V sub F over 2. Now I want to cancel that denominator of 2. So since I'm dividing by 2, I'm going to have to multiply both sides by 2. To get rid of the 2 there. So I now have 2 over 1 times D over T equals V sub I plus V sub F. When I multiply fractions, I do numerator times numerator over denominator times denominator. And remember, I'm trying to get V sub F by itself. So I'm going to subtract off the V sub I. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. I now have 2D divided by 2 minus V sub I equals V sub F, and I am done.